Hi students, today we're going to learn about a very interesting topic, the characteristics of the particles of matter. You see, in the last chapter, we'd understood that matter is made up of particles. But then what are the properties of these particles? Are they far apart from each other or are they close together? Are they stationary or are they moving? We learn about exactly how these particles behave in the chapter Characteristics of Particles of Matter. Let's proceed. Matter particles in general have three very important characteristics that you have to remember. The first one is that the particles of matter have space between them. You can see this is a particle of matter and this is a particle of matter, and there is space between these two particles. Sometimes it may seem that the particles of matter in a solid don't have any space between them, isn't it? After all, when you look at your keyboard or your computer or your table, you can see that the particles of matter definitely aren't spaced out. However, there is some space between the particles. That space is very less in case of solids, but it is still there. You can notice the space especially, in the case of air. Air particles have so much space between them that they can flow easily, from one place in the room to the other place in the room. Particles of matter are continuously moving. Here we go. They're not still, but they're continuously moving. Again, this might seem very weird, in case of solids, because you may say that the particles of solids are fixed, but they also vibrate about some position. So the point is that all particles of matter on this earth do keep moving always. You must remember that. The third important characteristic is that the particles of matter attract each other. This means that two particles of matter have some force between them which pulls them closer. When you pour water in a water bottle, the water stays in the water bottle, isn't it? The water does not come out of the water bottle and go off to some other room. That's because the water molecules attract each other. Understood? Let's learn in detail about all these three characteristics of matter. Let's look at the first characteristic first. Particles of matter have space between them. Here we go. Consider a beaker full of water. Now let me add some sugar to the water. What will happen? Clearly, the sugar will dissolve in the water. The reason is that initially there were only water particles, isn't it? Now, when we added sugar to the water, the sugar particles, these brown ones here, occupied the space between the water particles, and therefore they dissolved in water, isn't it? If water particles did not have any space between them, then sugar could not dissolve in water, isn't it? Because then sugar would have either floated above water or it would have sunk down below water, but it could never have gone inside the water. It went inside the water only because water particles had space between them, isn't it? And that tells us that the particles of matter, even the particles of water, have space between them. Did you understand that? So that proves the first characteristic of matter. We drink tea almost every day, and tea is possible only because the particles of matter have space between them. The tea leaves, some of them dissolve in the milk and in the water. The sugar that we put in the tea, it dissolves in the milk and the water we add to the tea, and all that happens only because water and milk particles have space between them. Similarly, lemon juice is possible only because particles of matter have space between them. In lemon juice, the juice of the lemon dissolves in the water, and it's able to dissolve in the water only because water molecules have spaces between them which are filled by lemon juice particles. Understood? That's how we're able to drink lemonade. So that was about the first characteristic of the particles of matter.